intraglomerular pressure is normal, but in case of diabetes, the intraglomerular pressure increases and there is a leaking of protein in the feet. And this is the characteristic of diabetic nephropathy. So by definition, the diabetic nephropathy is a chronic condition which develops over many years. It is characterized by the gradually increasing urinary albumin excretion, high blood pressure, decline in GFR, absence of other renal diseases, and presence of diabetic retinopathy in almost all patients. And the classification is very simple. If the urinary albumin excretion per day is less than 30, it is normal. But once it is 30 to 300 milligram per 24 hours, it is microalbuminuria, which is the earliest stage of diabetic nephropathy. And once it crosses more than 300 milligram per 24 hours, this is the stage of overt nephropathy, or you say macroalbuminuria. How the proteinuria further precipitates the renal damage? It's clear from this laboratory that diabetes causes glomerular capillary hypertension, which leads to the increased glomerular capillary permeability, increased filtration of the plasma proteins, and these plasma proteins which are filtered, they are reabsorbed in the proximal tubules, and the accumulation of protein in the proximal tubular cells lead to the release of the various cytokines which are fibrogenic and that may cause renal scarring in the late stage, that is called as glomerular cirrhosis, and which is the almost end stage of the renal disease. Now coming to the how to manage this. What the ADA guidelines say, what is the target, what is the goal of hypertension management in a diabetic patient? Not like other patients, the goal is to be strict in the diabetic patient, it should be less than 130 by 80. And once a person has the systolic between 130 to 139 or diastolic between 80 to 89, he must be subjected to the lifestyle modification for at least 3 months. Then, if he doesn't respond to the lifestyle modification, then treatment should be started. But once the blood pressure is more than 140 by 90, one should start lifestyle modification plus pharmacological intervention. And the drug which should be preferred in a patient of diabetes should be either ACE inhibitor or angiotensin receptor blocker. And these drugs are also recommended for patients with persistent microalbuminuria or higher level of albumin excretion. Lifestyle management, which is most easy to say but most difficult to implement in any patient. They show that what physical busy schedule better, exercising 1 hour a day or being dead 24 hours a day. It's very difficult to implement in our patients, but it matters. Lifestyle modification should be the cornerstone of management in any hypertensive or diabetic patient. As you can see, that there is a systolic blood pressure reduction of about 5 to 20 once a person loses 10 kg of the weight. Similarly, adopting a diet plan that is DASH diet plan, the systolic blood pressure can be reduced to 8 to 40. Sodium restriction should be done to about less than 6 grams salt per day. Physical activity should be encouraged and moderation of alcohol consumption should be there. And the physical activity should be in the form of at least 150 minutes per week of the moderate intensity aerobic physical activity. The best walking is the best exercise. And if there is no contraindication like diabetic retinopathy or any unsolved angina, coronary artery disease, the resistance training should also be encouraged. It can be encouraged in the elderly individual also because it increases the insulin sensitivity. And the role of the exercise has also been proven in the various studies where the diabetes can be prevented. Like in the diabetes prevention program, it was seen that the lifestyle modification is effective with the medicine as compared to the drug. Similar result has been seen in the Chinese study also, and the Indian diabetes prevention program which was conducted in South Asia. The lifestyle is a more effective measurement than any drug in the prevention of diabetes. Let us come to the pharmacological management. I will give more emphasis on the RAS blockade. So before we go for the RAS blockade, we should understand the basic physiology of the RAS system, that is renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. As you all know that the renin is secreted from the juxtaglomerular apparatus of the kidney, and this renin converts angiotensin nodule, which is inside the liver, to angiotensin 1, and this is converted to angiotensin 2 by the angiotensin converting enzyme, and this angiotensin 2 is the most active and most potent molecule in this cascade, and this causes the secretion of the aldosterone. And how angiotensin shows its pathological and physiological effect. It's clear from the slide that the major actions are the arterial vasoconstriction, efferent arterial vasoconstriction, aldosterone secretion, epinephrine release, smooth muscle hypertrophy. In the long term, it also causes hyperplasia of the vascular smooth muscle and myocardium, deposition of the extracellular matrix component, and sensitizes the blood vessel for the vasoconstriction by the low level of the vasoconstrictors. And these changes are basically slow structural remodeling of the CVS, and they are likely to be pathogenic rather than protective. So angiotensin II is the most potent and effective molecule in this whole cascade. And this explains that high angiotensin II blockage is done with the ACE inhibitor IRB. It not only reduces the blood pressure, but it leads to the amelioration of the various cardiovascular diseases also. So it has the additional benefit apart from lowering of blood pressure. This angiotensin acts on the two receptors, that is 81 and 82. 82 receptor activation is supposed to be beneficial because once 82 receptor is stimulated, it causes vasodilation, anti-growth, and causes natriuresis, and it produces nitric oxide. But 81 receptor stimulation is supposed to be harmful, and the blockage should be at the level of 81, not 82. And most of the ARBs act on this receptor selectively. Aldosterone, it not only causes a salt retention and vasoconstriction, it also upregulates pro-respiratory growth factors as PI1 and transformative growth factor, and it causes the promotion of macrophage infiltration, which ultimately leads to renal fibrosis. Legacy effect of the ROS blockage. This is very important to understand because the mechanism of action of these drugs, which are the ROS blockers, are entirely different from the other existing antihypertensive drugs. In hyperglycemia, what happens is the increased renin, increased formation of angiotensin II, and by various mechanisms, by increasing ROS and decreasing NO, increasing TGF-beta, it causes the vascular inflammation. And this vascular inflammation and sort of remodeling leads to the increased media to lumen ratio. So ultimately there is a stiffness of the wall and there is an increased media to lumen ratio, and if you block this cascade by the renin inhibitor or ACE inhibitors or ARBs, we can have resistance. So if the RAS inhibitors are given, these basically interfere with this molecular mechanism, while the beta blocker diuretics has the other mechanism of action. So a tight antihypertensive strategy with the beta blocker, calcium blocker may not have a legacy effect in internet. Whereas the reverse vascular remodeling is induced by the ROS blockage, which is not seen with the other molecule. Angiotensin II, as you know, is a key player in the functional structure changes that link proteinuria with progression of diabetic kidney disease. In addition to pleiotropic effect, it also impairs the sealing function of the glomerular capillaries. It causes the increased intraglomerular pressure, leading to a rearrangement and inducing a rearrangement of podocyte cytoskeleton and component of the slit diaphragm. And what happens? This facilitates the ultrafiltration of the plasmaproteins, which are excreted in the urine, and some are lost and some are accumulated in the podocytes, and they are again reabsorbed by proximal tubular cells. And these proximal tubular cells reabsorption lead to the certain activation of the.
And now I request Dr. Rajesh Kumar and Dr. Sandeep Arun from Patona to please present mementos to our chairperson, Dr. RKC and Dr. Aziz.
Start